the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
All right, it is the New York Knicks podcast, episode 568, part of Dash Radio. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I am doing fine. How are you, Jay? We are part of the season where the season has been over for quite some time and just waiting on a draft pick. And for this, I don't know, Jay, how do you feel watching Knicks games these days? Like, I'm kind of like, I have, in some regard, I'm like, oh, I want to watch a Knicks game because it's fun to watch the Knicks, but it's not so fun.
Mark, there are only 5 games out of the 10th seed. All right.
It's almost like the 10th seed was created just to torture us a little more.
Now you're going to barely miss the 10th seed instead of the 8th seed.
Normally it would be over. But now, if you guys play your cards right and go on a historic streak at the end of the season, you could be eliminated in a single elimination game. Phoenix
clinched like last week.
Yeah, they're a good team. It's amazing. Like, we've been for so long. You were like, oh, you know what? Teams are really bad. I mean, we suck, but Phoenix sucks, and Memphis sucks, and all these other teams that suck suddenly are really good, and we still suck. When's that going to change, Jay?
It's going to change when the Knicks make their epic playoff push, and it builds a winning culture, and then next year they're all just winners.
Yes, end of season wins. Winning always matters, except when it doesn't, like, in reality.
Look at you being Mr. Negative Nelly today.
Sorry. I don't want to go negative. Okay, since last show, I like watching. You know what? A lot of fans were disappointed the Knicks lost to the Nets. I'm not that I'm rooting for the tank. I mean, I don't know what I'm rooting for at this point, but it was fun because they played a really tight game against one of the best players in NBA history, in Durant. He's a all-time great player. And they came up just short, so you got to see the Knicks play well and lose. At this point in the season, that's about all you can ask for. Didn't hurt the tank. They played well, mostly.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any team, like, even if I'm rooting for a tank, I want the Knicks to beat the Nets, always.
Yeah. But so all you hear now is the whole, I mean, Kyrie gets to go to the games, so why can't he play? It's so ridiculous. So, Jay, do you know why he can't play in the games? Do you understand this?
Who, Kyrie?
Yeah, why can't Kyrie play? And then we can go 2 seconds on Kyrie.
Yeah, because he didn't get it vaccinated.
Well, yeah, I mean, beyond that. So New York City has a mandate, and just that employers of a certain size, the employees have to be vaccinated. Kyrie's an employee. He's not vaccinated. If you think Kyrie should be able to play, I mean, he probably should just get the vaccine, but if you think he should play, you shouldn't say the NBA is just, the New York City is just let Kyrie play. Just say New York should change their rule for all employers. The idea that you're like, I don't care about everyone else, I just care about this one rich asshole is ridiculous. Just say you want the rule to change. New York to make a law change for all employers. At least that would be like less of an asshole thing to say than just like, I want to change for just this one guy.
Yeah. It is just the way the rules work is just weird. He can like sit on the bench next to the players, but he can't play the game.
Do you know when an unvaccinated nurse can go to the hospital but can't actually work in the hospital? Same thing. Literally the same thing.
Okay. When you put it like
that. I mean, I think they all should get vaccinated, but like, like a waiter who, for a big enough employee, like he can go to the restaurant, but he can't work in the restaurant. New York City has these rules. I understand there's a lot of whatever you're going to say about this, but just focus on the entire law and not focus on an exception for one individual.
Yeah.
Anyway, since last show, the Knicks lost to the Nets and they lost to the Grizzlies. Was the 3-game winning streak, was that that was before last show. I can't even remember anymore, right?
It's all a blur. It's been so
Whatever.
much fun. Like all the games just meld together at this point.
They played, they had a very close game against Memphis also. They lost 2 very close games. Are you that upset at this point?
No, it's just during the winning streak, I saw people like looking at the standings and saying they're getting close to the playing game. I just knew it was just screwing up a draft pick.
Like,
They
we
do it
can
every
turn
season.
we can turn this around. I mean, like the entire season, that sample size doesn't matter. Right now, we're a great team.
Yeah.
What would the 10th seed got us?
10th seed is what would the 10th seed have gotten the Knicks? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, what?
You
forget
get
the
to
draft
playing
pick.
game, and then you're probably playing Brooklyn.
So you're probably losing the playing game.
Mm-hmm.
And people are dreaming of the 2001 season when they like won all the way to the finals at the 8th seed. This is not that. And that team was like, it was, at least that team, like, this is just an entirely different team.
So if the Knicks got the 10th seed, they would take it from Charlotte. So they would play either the Raptors, the Nets, or the Hawks, and I don't think they're winning any of those.
I mean, it would just be a reason to be in denial. You would say, oh, we had a run at the end of the season. We got the 10th seed. Apparently, Alex Burks is a fine starting point guard. Nothing's wrong. Let's go to next season and act like nothing needs to be changed. Yeah. I think Jeff Van Gundy was right with the idea that, like, the Knicks are better off missing the playoffs, not for a draft pick, but for the fact that that way they'll know changes need to be made.
Yeah, but even if they know changes are going to be made, can they make changes?
Well, I mean, that's a different question. But at least, like, if you know, understanding there's a problem, I mean,
if they don't know there's a problem now, then I don't know what to say.
I think if you make the playoffs, you can pretend that, like, you're like, well, Rose was injured. Randall wasn't so good at the beginning of the season, but he came on late. RJ had that rough stretch, but we brought it together. This is the team. We'll be back next season. So I have some questions for you, Jay. So I guess the first question is, if the Knicks let's just say the Knicks forget the negatives part of this. Let's say the Knicks make no changes going into next season.
Mm-hmm.
And forget, I guess a big question also was Tibbs. Should they change Tibbs or not? And let's leave it just separate. Just the roster.
Mm-hmm.
If the Knicks made no changes, and like obviously they'll be getting a draft pick, but forget that part right now. If they made no changes to the roster, how good would they be next season? Now, keep in mind, the Knicks are they're 28-39, heading towards maybe 31 victories. But keep in mind, RJ had a brutal stretch of 2 months that you expect to be more consistent next season.
Mm-hmm.
Randall was very up and down, and while Randall may not return to his all-star form of last year, he's probably going to be better than this next year. Would that be fair to say also?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
They have discovered that Grimes is a pretty good player. You expect Grimes would probably be a starter or like a big piece off the bench. He'll get major minutes and probably get a little bit better. Would that be fair to say?
Fair to say.
Quickly can't be this bad of a shooter. If he's this bad of a shooter, next year maybe last year in the NBA. So I know people will be like, oh my God, Quickly's so great. Quickly has been a nightmare as far as a shooter. He's got to shoot better, and I think he's a better shooter. I'm going to assume next year that he'll shoot a little better than this. That'll be an improvement also.
Based on nothing I've seen, sure.
I mean, when you're shooting under 40%, it's not really.
He did it last year too.
Yeah, he did it last year. But last year, at least he had closer to 40% on his threes. I have to say, though, like, if he doesn't shoot better next year, he's not a big, like, you can't say he needs a lot of minutes if he can't shoot. His job, he's not like a distribute point guard. He's not even a point guard, really. He's a guy that has to score.
Yeah, he's not a lockdown defender where he could get away with it, like Tybal or something like that. Andre Roberson. He's not those guys.
In theory, his number one skill on the court is his shooting. Would you say that's true, Jay?
Unfortunately, yes.
So if he can't shoot if he shoots at a very low efficient level, but anyway, I think quickly they say he's an extremely hard worker. I think him playing next to Rose, and we're assuming maybe a healthy Rose next year.
Yeah,
he'll look better.
Yeah, guys at 35 usually age gracefully.
Exactly, Jay. So anyway, what do you expect without any changes? And also Fournier, overall actually hasn't that bad of a season.
No,
And you're not going to
it's
have,
not.
in theory, when I say nothing's changing, Kemba's not going to be on the roster. There's no way Kemba's on the roster next year.
But you're saying
So-
they re-sign Mitch.
Let's say they re-sign Mitch. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Andrew. About 500.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that's basically getting not quite what it was last year, but also a vastly improved team from this year, or a
Yes.
good amount of improvement.
Yeah, but I mean, unfortunately, that's like their ceiling, and 500 is the play-in tournament.
Okay. Well, but hang on. So, and we're going to assume, how do you get this roster better? What if we added, and I'm not saying who the player will be, but like a semi-decent point guard?
What a brilliant idea!
I know Leon Rose hasn't thought of it yet.
He really hasn't.
No. If you add a semi-decent point guard, can you go from 40, 41 wins to 45, 46 wins?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe if you had 2 point guards.
Oh my God! Now you're just doing crazy talk.
Also, if say you add a top 10, 11, 12 draft pick who ends up contributing at least is a major rotation piece.
So you want the Knicks to act like a normal team?
Well, I'm just saying, I know we're really down the team right now, but I really feel next year could be a very much bounce back year, a year of going back. We're back on. Last year was a bit of an aberration. We got better too fast. We're now going back to slowly building, and I think we're going to be 30 to 132 wins. Next year, we could win 42, 43 games, maybe 44 games, and keep getting better from there.
All right, that's
Not a crazy. If you add a point guard, maybe another backup point guard also, it's not crazy to get also some of the guys have really had. I mean, this season's been a weird season. You've had guys like Ricky Rubio have a career night against the Knicks. Even though the Knicks aren't guarding the 3-point line very well, you can't have that many career nights against us either.
Yeah, I'm just looking at all these teams that pick up like undrafted guys that do better than the Knicks' top 10 picks. It's frustrating.
One of my major issues with the Knicks, not just going. The Knicks are never at the edges trying to get better. They're like, I don't know, who's the 15th guy they have? Ryan, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks don't care about the 15th spot in the rotation. The Miami Heat do. The Toronto Raptors do. And it's a whole other topic. But other teams care a little bit more, work a little bit harder, and get better. Okay, so the roster can be improved, though. We agree the roster has some potential to being better. Alex Burks plays, guy off the bench that plays 15 to 20 minutes a night, looks a lot better than this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Spark off the bench, yeah. So add a point guard, that would be better. So the next question for you. The coach, Tibbs, how important it is to get rid. I mean, how important it is to keep him for continuity versus getting rid of him because of his stubbornness and frustration? Like, how important is it to make a move a coach?
I don't think it's terribly important. I don't think, as long as the Knicks don't have a point guard, what's the point of changing the coach? What is any coach in the world going to do with a point guardless roster? I just don't understand.
I am going to assume Leon Rose is going to figure out some option better than Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker for starting point guard for next season. He may not,
You mean
but I'm going to
Alec
assume
Burks?
he's going. Yeah, but better than Evan. Sorry, not Evan Fournier. I meant to say Elfrid Payton. That's what I meant to say. Better than Elfrid Payton, Kemba Walker, or Alec Burks, our 3 starting point guards in the last 2 years. I am going to assume Leon Rose can figure out someone better, and he should just resign if he can't. By the way, I know people are like, "Oh, what are the options out there?" Leon Rose just quit your job if you can't figure out a better starting point guard.
He should have been fired for the draft.
Yeah. But anyway, so if Leon is if we have a different starting point guard, do you want to fire Tibbs?
No, I want to see what Tibbs' team looks like with an actual point guard. I know everyone's like super mad that he wasn't playing McBride, and like McBride plays good defense, but he hasn't. I'm confused about McBride because he's been getting minutes and not been doing much on the court. On the other hand, they're having him
plus
sit in
minus
the
looks pretty good,
corner.
right?
Was it?
His plus minus look pretty good, and he just sits in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, he sits in the corner, and they have IQ running the point, which It's just weird to
When
me.
when McBride gets the ball, he defers to IQ because that's what you do when you're a rookie. You defer to like whoever the team is going through.
Their second
He's
year
also-
vet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, McBride's also you can he's also a hesitant player, like Ntilikina, except for like McBride's. You've seen him in the G League be explosive, or not explosive, but score a lot. I think he's this guy who's going to be a slow developer on offense, and I don't know if I mean I obviously it makes more sense to put him out there by himself as point guard, but if the Knicks did that, I don't know if he would score a lot anyway. It's going to be a slower development.
He doesn't need to score a lot, but I don't know.
He scored a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe he'd be able to set up a play better than IQ, like jacking up 30-footers.
Yes, I mean I have problems with IQ. Oh my god, his swagger for a guy who's not a good shooter is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's also like crazy. Like the Knicks are like, this is our core. Like you were like, okay, there's Barrett, there's Grimes, and the next person they'll say is like IQ, and you're like, maybe you don't understand what the first two have, and the third guy does not have.
Yeah.
IQ, OB. Anyway, so the coach. There's also some value to continuity, right?
Andrew said Nick Stauskas put up 57 in the G League the other day, so maybe we shouldn't take G League too seriously.
If you watch the highlights of the G League, there's like no one gives a shit about playing defense. I don't even understand.
They know scouts are watching the games, right?
I don't know. This is your path. And a lot of guys come G League and do well in the NBA also. I mean, like it's a place where guys develop.
Right.
Yes.
I don't get it. You're like so close to the NBA and you're like, yeah, I'm just not going to try on one half of the floor.
I don't watch full G League games, but I'll watch highlights of guys I'm interested in. Like McBride, I'll watch the highlights of McBride. I'm like, yeah, he's scoring because no one seems to be playing on daily defense on him. But yeah, I don't know what to make of McBride. He's a development project. We'll see what happens. But anyway, so the third question for you, Jay. How important it is to bring Mitch back. We've talked about that on the show before. So here is my thought process here. You have Noel next year. I know a lot of people are like, we'll just get rid of Noel. You're not getting rid of these contracts because if you don't want them, no one else is going to want them either. Like, they're not going to be easy contracts to move. You agree with that, right?
You'd be like, yo, we got this guy plays really good defense, and he did so every game he played last year. I know it was only 7 games, but he was really good on defense for those 7 games. Yeah, ignore the 70 he missed. That's fine. But it's like, I don't know. How are you going to convince somebody to take a guy who missed like 70 games?
Yeah, well, obviously that's going to be pretty tough to convince.
Yeah, I would think so. I think that would be a pretty tough sell.
Yeah, I would say overall. So anyway, I just think Fournier is actually a good scorer. I could see him. Maybe you can move him because he actually has some value. All the other guys that we want to move, we're like, that guy's trash. We'll just move off his contract. I almost think that like it's impossible to move off their contracts without attaching assets. And attaching assets to move off a contract is something a team that's much further along would do.
Yeah, I agree. You don't do it just because you made an oopsie and you're nowhere near competing.
Remember the last time the Knicks attached assets to move off a contract?
Was that Bargnani?
No, it was when we traded Porzingis for undervalue because we wanted to move off other contracts for no good reason.
Right.
For when no one was coming here.
Yeah, well, here's Porzingis and 2 more players that are better than anything we're getting back.
You know what? Like it's just it's amazing how much like everything brings. It's like everything brings up another thought bubble about something else I'm angry about for the Knicks.
Back to Mitch though. I'm so confused about him. He had a ridiculous block against Durant, but then Drummond like ate him up. Drummond was like I think he was 100% in the first half against Mitch.
Do you think they can cut Mitch back for Drummond's contract? Because Drummond looks better than Mitch.
I would rather Drummond.
Do you know how much Drummond is making this year?
It's minimum, right?
Yeah, like 2 or 3, maybe 5 million. I don't know, whatever the minimum is he's making. Mitch wants to get paid. He's not better than Drummond. Though Drummond can get a better contract also, but like he's so here's the options next year. You could, if you bring back Mitch, if Noel's half healthy, you have Mitch and Noel as your centers. That's one option.
Mm-hmm.
Another option is if you don't bring back Mitch, if Noel is healthy, that'd be obviously very helpful. You have Noel, you have Sims. Taj will probably be on the roster anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even counting it. Mitch, Sims. You also have Obi. If Randall's on the roster, Obi is not going to play very much unless he plays center. How are you going to open up a spot for Obi to play unless you're going to play Randall and Obi together? And that's tough to do if you have Mitch and Noel signed.
Right. If you go with Sims and Noel, then you could play Obi the 60 games Noel's injured.
Exactly. I mean, if you have Sims and Noel, you're not really worried. Noel probably plays 20, 25 minutes if he's healthy, and you're not really worried about Sims getting major minutes. You're happy to have, if Obi's playing well, it's fine. You don't. It's easier to manage the minutes.
Yeah. You
So
can give Obi
if you-
10 at center and 15 at power forward, and he's playing. There you go, 25 minutes.
I mean, I have to say, if you like Obi, you should not want the Knicks to bring back Mitch,
But I mean,
unless you're under some weird belief that Noel will be gone next year.
playing Obi 25 minutes is assuming you think Obi's a good basketball player.
I don't, but I don't know I don't know. I mean, the Knicks. I don't think Tibbs thinks he's a good basketball player. Or else he'd play more, right?
Look, if he just played 40 minutes a game, he would score more than he's scoring right now.
Yes. If he'd had more minutes and more shots, he would score more points. That's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think anyone? As much as people hate Randall, do people think Obi's better than Randall?
I think there are some insane people that do.
Like,
I've seen it.
It doesn't.
When Randall was having a bad streak, they're like, yo, we could do what Randall does if he played the same minutes. Like, I don't think so. And have you seen him ever do anything other than catch lobs and dunk or maybe go on a fast break?
Don't you wish Obi? Wouldn't everyone be excited if Obi could play as well as bad Randall?
Yeah.
I have another question for the offseason for you, Jay.
Okay.
So anyhow, are you on the favor of bringing Mitch back, or are you tempted to let him? I mean, obviously, if it's like a very small contract, by all means, bring him back. But what do you think?
I think if it's more than 10 or 12, then you try and do a sign and trade for a point guard.
How many years?
What, for the 10 or 12?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's per season. But I mean, how are you giving him a 4-year contract? What are you giving him?
Yeah, I would do 4 years.
I don't know if I'd even do 4 years. Mitch has been injured so much, and
The way I see
maybe-
it is 10 or 12 isn't a cap busting contract, and if he stays healthy, it's worth it, and if he's injured, it doesn't cripple your team.
you talk me into 40 million over 4 years. Fine, and then next season we can talk about trying to get off of Robinson and Noel's contract.
Unfortunately, I think he wants something closer to like 72 million.
That's fine. Let some other team be that stupid. I think that would be a monumentally dumb contract.
I do too.
So here's another question for you, Jay, about the cap.
Mhm.
RJ Barrett. So first, do you think the Knicks should extend RJ Barrett at some point?
Yes,
Okay, no question, right? 100%.
100%. Charlie Ward curse is over.
So when should they extend him? They have two options:
Mhm.
this offseason or next offseason. What makes more sense?
Andrew
So
said, expect a 4-year 72, and they'll just reuse the Noah and Tim Hardaway Jr. paperwork.
The Knicks only know 4 years and $72 million contracts.
So,
So yeah, my question is what makes more sense? And so the arguments in favor of signing, I've asked on Twitter at least, the arguments in favor of signing RJ this summer, extending him this summer, are do the right thing, show him you believe in him, and do the right thing.
So the way I think it works is that if they sign him now, they arguably, I think, pay a little bit less for the length of the contract.
If it's a max deal, we're talking about just max deals.
Yeah.
RJ's probably looking for a max deal or something close to that, right?
I would think something close. I don't think he's worth $25 million a year, but we'll see what he gets.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if he's thinking, but I mean, like the idea, like he's probably like, I'm going to play into that. I think Tyler Hero is talking. They're talking about a big contract for him also. Like most of the guys, like you extend these guys, you expect them to be better going forward, right?
Yeah, but it's harder to maybe they want to sign a few guys before they up RJ to try and manage the cap space. But the thing is, they don't have a lot of cap space, so they might as well just do it this summer.
Well, Jay, but don't they have a lot of cap space next offseason if they don't sign RJ?
Right, because then Burks falls off the books. Kemba's gone. I think Rose is off the books. So then you can sign a bunch of players before you use your bird rights on Barrett.
Right. I don't know. We're not good at the cap or anything related to basketball on this show. Anything that's actually like helpful for. We're not good at this stuff. But I am fairly certain that if you sign RJ this summer to a big contract, that's going to count against the cap next season, and then you're going to be capped out faster. But if you wait, you could sign guys next summer and then go over the cap for Barrett. I know someone's pointed out, I haven't checked this, but they said the Knicks are 27th in salary cap. Everyone has the exact same cap. Teams that are smart do this better, and you do this by basically going over the cap, basically, for guys like putting the contracts in the right order.
Here's the thing: if they're going to do that, they need to convey that to Barrett so he just doesn't think he's getting snubbed.
Well, the Knicks are going to convey that by never talking to him.
I know
about
that's my fear that they're like, oh yeah, we got this all figured out. We'll just wait a year and then we'll have all this cap space. And we'll get a point guard, and they just forget to tell Barrett, and he's like, oh, I guess they don't want me. I'm going to go somewhere else.
I think you should find 6 of the hottest high-end escorts, send them to Barrett's apartment or house, have them blow him all night, and explain to him in the intervals while he's in between, we're signing you for next season, and we'll send these hookers over a lot more if you come back. Like he's got to understand this is all about just cap space management. Like just telling him, like, listen, we're going to give you a big deal next summer, but do you want a big deal now and have a mediocre team, or do you want a big deal next summer and have a better team?
Anyway, flash forward 2 months when the Knicks max him out and have no cap space for next season.
That would be so goddamn stupid. And I know a Knicks fan will be like, oh, blah, 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 we have to re-sign him. It's also, you know what? RJ Barrett had a down part of the season, 2 months where he wasn't that great, and he's been pretty good since January. He could be a more efficient player, you'd agree. He could be better next season. We're hoping he's better next season.
I'm sure he will be.
Yeah. Well, why don't we give him the slight of not signing him this offseason, get a chip on his shoulder, just let him work for a contract next season?
He's pretty much the only Knicks player I'm confident will be better next season.
I am too. He's a hard worker. I think he's going to get better, but he needs to get better also. And he's starting to get better. The last guy we signed before we had to was Julius Randle. How do we feel about that now?
I think the jury's still out on that.
I mean, generally, you're not feeling amazing about the fact that you gave the contract last summer.
I don't know how Julius would look with an actual point guard.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But wouldn't you prefer to like
Julius, but he's trying to be the point guard.
Yeah. No, you're right. And also, if they paid him after this season, I mean, the contract wouldn't be that much. Like, it would still be a similar contract. The Knicks got a decent deal. It just wouldn't be a max. He wouldn't get the max deal he would have wanted after this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Either way, like, just cap space management, wait a season, see who else you can sign, fit into the salary cap when you make a real run under RJ with RJ as the helm.
I mean, it sounds good to me. We'll see if I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Well,
I don't have any faith in Rose to manage this well.
Rose has a lot of experience. He has 2 years running this bubbling franchise.
Wouldn't you, like, the first thing I would do if I was given Rose's position would be to hire a capologist, because it's very confusing.
You don't think they have one ready?
I have no idea.
I mean, now that you said that, I would have assumed they have a capologist as the most basic thing you'd have in a front office.
I never assume anything when it comes to the Knicks. I mean, it could just be, Rose's buddy. Just text them like, yo, what do you think of this? And he's like, yeah, sign him up.
So statements from the Knicks that Jay would not be surprised to learn. Hey, we just added computers to our front office. Welcome to.
Guys, we're going digital. We finally replaced that dial-up modem.
Leon Rose finally knows how to get into Madison Square Garden. Okay, cool. Let's do some questions.
Okay. So our email is nynixpodcast@gmail.com. That's also our NYNix podcast is our Patreon, our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So we have an email from David. He said, would you trade Randall for Tobias Harris? I would. Randall's effort is too up and down. Harris is a more versatile player.
Contracts are somewhat similar. Yes, I would, because Randall's effort on defense at times drives me insane.
I don't know why Tobias Harris gets so much hate.
It's not been that great for Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, Philly, like, if Tobias Harris was the player they expect him to be, holy crap, they'd be really good. He's the third best offensive player currently on that team.
Well, I mean, one of the league MVPs is the first.
No. Obviously, yes. And so they have two league MVP type players with Harden and Embiid. But Maxi's surpassed them also.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be another situation where he doesn't get anything run for him. I mean, if you have Embiid and Harden, like, there's not much room left for.
But you didn't have Harden most of the season. And Maxey only really emerged. I mean, not that he's having a bad year. He's just fans, they don't love the contract there. I don't watch enough of Philly. But he gets his point. He's averaging 18 points a game. I think he plays better defense than Randall. I would not be upset if the Knicks made that move. They're not going to, but I wouldn't be upset if they made that move.
So David also asked, would you do a sign and trade Mitch Robinson for Markelle Fultz?
Fultz is finally back. That's kind of interesting. What do you, forgetting the Mitchell Robinson part of it? What do you think about Markelle Fultz for the Knicks? In the sense of Cole Anthony has emerged this year. Not that he's amazing, but Cole Anthony, like, if they go with Cole Anthony, it frees him up to trade Markelle. What do you think?
I mean, I would take a flyer on. That's how just desperate I am for a point guard. I would take a flyer on.
He's 23. He was the number one pick in the draft. He since being drafted, he learned how to shoot. Maybe, he's actually shooting well this season. Even though he's in like 6 games. What would you give up? Would you do a sign and trade Mitch for Markelle Fultz? I'm desperate for a point guard. I also think Mitch's production is not that ridiculous, not that hard to replace. Whereas I think a point guard's production is much harder to replace. Would you bet on Fultz being maybe like, again, not every point guard needs to be the answer. Would you give Fultz a shot?
Yeah, I think he would be a good backup point guard, which the Knicks also need. So, yeah.
Would you trade for him and give him the start to see if he can be a starter?
I'd trade IQ for him.
Yeah, I might do that also. He's got potential.
I know people hate that idea, but I don't think IQ's that good. I just don't.
I mean, is there a chance that Fultz might end up being good?
Yeah. He's had some really just weird injuries that I don't think are chronic, and maybe he just starts getting better. I mean, he started looking good last season before he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, is it crazy to bet on? He only played 8 games last year, but is it crazy to bet on the guy he wasn't that bad also 2 years ago? But is it crazy to bet on the guy who was the number one pick in the draft?
Maybe. It depends who that number one pick is. There's been some bad number one picks.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. What would you give up to get Fultz? You'd give up Mitch, right? Or would you not, Jay?
I feel like you could get more from Mitch.
Really? Because I don't think you can.
No?
No, why could you get more from Mitch? I think the Knicks value him so much more than anyone else does.
It's possible.
I mean, do you think the center position is... People are in love with Sims. Sim was the 58th pick in the draft because no one values centers anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard.
Drummond gets $2 million or $3 million a year, and he's.
I'm actually shocked that Drummond is.
You think you get more for
Yeah.
Is Mitch a lot better than Mo Bamba, who they currently have on the Orlando roster?
I think he's better than Mo
Is he
Bamba.
is he a lot better?
Yeah, I think now you're getting a little extreme.
Is he that much better? Mo Bamba can shoot a three.
Mo Bamba's
Mo Bamba's tall and can shoot from the outside.
Can he do anything else?
Also, if you trade, okay, fine. If you okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Anyway, Mitch is better than Mo Bamba, but I don't think he's a million times better than Mo Bamba. Anyway, I would do Mitch for Markel Fultz. Anyone who's a young point guard who could get better, I'm down for.
yeah.
I think Fultz would have some value actually on the trade market. By the way, I don't think he's lacking in value. I actually think that their values are probably very similar. If anything, a young point guard probably has greater value than a young center.
Well, does for the Knicks fan base.
We need that. Yeah. Is there another email question?
That's it for emails.
Okay. All right. Will we have a player better than Cat in 10 years?
Maybe not. I mean,
The answer is RJ. The answer is RJ Barrett, Jay.
Oh yeah, he's already on the team.
You don't think RJ? Yeah, he's already on the team. Like, come on, don't disrespect RJ Barrett. He'll be better than Cat.
We also have IQ.
Terry writes, "What's the story?" What do you say?
We also have IQ and Obi.
Yeah, I said RJ. What's the story with Noel? Was last year an anomaly, or will he be bounced back next season?
Last year was an anomaly. Look at his injury history. He was injured every single year except the year we gave him a contract.
Well, he's been injured even when he's playing, he's been injured this season. A healthy Noel is a very good defensive player.
He is. We just,
But
you see a healthy Noel like as often as you see Haley's Comet.
he was healthy with OKC also the year before.
Well, he better get healthy.
That's when the Knicks guy. He was healthy with Noel.
Knicks are going to be in trouble if he's not.
I would also, not to slander Mitch, but a healthy Noel. I don't care if he has rocks. He has rocks for hands. He's better than Mitch. Do you think a healthy Mitch or a healthy Noel? Who's better?
We're going to get a lot of hate mail this
What's that?
episode.
Noel, he anchored. Last year he was healthy. We had one of the best defenses in the NBA.
He was awesome.
This year he's not healthy.
He was awesome last year.
I don't know why people are just forgetting the fact that he's a really good defensive player. I know he's not as flashy as Mitch, but he also knows where to be on defense.
Yeah.
I think he was a hell of a defensive player. I just don't understand the complete. He's played to trash this year, but he's also been injured. Darryl writes, I really dislike the lottery system and rewarding mediocrity, but how do the Knicks mess up being mediocre at the end of every season when needed?
It's just written into their DNA.
I think it's bad teams get high picks in the draft. Bad organizations don't.
Yeah. Mr. C writes, would you guys prefer if all non-playoff teams had an equal shot at the number one pick or the current system?
I'm beginning to feel like yes.
Yeah.
That would probably might actually be better, right? So then you have teams actively trying to not get the 10th seed. But that sounds better. I don't know. I like that better.
Yeah, I do too.
So how would you? So would that just be the first top 3 picks, and then everyone else is by record?
Nope, the whole thing's random.
I like that even better.
Yeah,
that would be great. The last when 14 make the play, 1 through 14 teams or 20. Okay, now 20 teams make the 20 goddamn teams make the playoffs. The Knicks can't make the damn playoffs.
Well, no, technically you do.
Is that right?
Well, technically you don't make the playoffs if you lose the play-in
20?
tournament. The play-in tournament doesn't count.
Oh, you don't?
No, that doesn't count as making the playoffs.
Oh. If 20 teams are involved in the offseason, 20 teams are involved in the postseason, the Knicks are like, can't get there. But yeah, I like whatever. So if you're saying picks 1 through 14 being just picked out of a hat, that sounds great to me.
Yeah.
Why doesn't the NBA do that? That's
I
better
don't
than
know.
the flattening the system. That just really makes it complete.
Their fear is having a good team that had an injury and just misses the playoffs, getting the number 1 pick and then becoming a dynasty. But, like, people seem to like super teams, so who cares? Plus, I think the odds of that happening are, like, that's, like, very specific circumstances. You might see that, like, once every 20 years or something.
There are also teams that what was I going to say? There are teams that like Golden State picked pretty high last year. Like teams end up through trades and everything get high draft picks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So just make it let one of the 14 Yeah, I like that system a lot better. What else? 3 other questions, Jay. Okay. We'll finish up very soon. Yeah, you're right. On Twitter, right? If you guys could keep and re-sign all the young guys, trade the rest of the team, get a decent new coach who can manage Randall, the correct draft pick, and a decent young enough free agent point guard, would you have a happy life?
I mean, it would be pretty hard to complain if that happens.
Yeah. If you told me the Knicks were going to go to a real rebuild, play the young guys, and they got the 40 wins, I'd be super excited. If you told me the Knicks are going to go all in next season trying to make the playoffs and they get the 40 wins, I'll be miserable.
Yeah.
And it's the same number of wins.
Yep.
But RJ gets better. Grimes becomes a real piece next year, like playing a lot more, and like there's a lot of stuff to root for next season. Knicks third quarter writes, in year 3, will Tibbs learn how to properly manage timeouts? It always seems like the other team has 2 left every fourth quarter, and we have 0.
No. I think Tibbs is good at some things, but like really bad at other things.
Hey, what did you think of the last play in the Nets game where the pass to Fournier in the corner, where he tried to pass to Mitch and the ball got blocked? The Nets stole the ball or prevented the pass, and they won the game. What did you think of that call? People were really killing Tibbs on that call.
I've seen worse this season.
At least he drew something up.
Yeah. I mean, he's had timeouts where he comes back with an ISO, so like, at least there was something. I think he's had way worse calls at the end of games.
Yeah, I have to say, at least I gave him some credit for trying to draw something up. But yeah, he's not going to manage timeouts better. ToWit writes, or West Jazz writes, what do the Knicks do for a center for next season? What is the price for Mitch? Do they trust Jericho if Mitch walks? And how can they dump Noel? See, that's what I understand this question. Like, he's asking what are you going to do if Mitch walks, and you're like, how do we dump Noel? I don't know. Noel's a good center if he's healthy. He's probably not going to be healthy. I agree with that, but
I mean, if Mitch walks, they better at least do a sign and trade.
But if Mitch walks, is whoever they sign in free agency for a 1-year deal is going to be that big of a difference on the roster?
You mean if he walks and they don't do a sign and trade?
Look, Mitch leaves, and they go with Sims, Noel, and they sign some guy in free agency, some center in free agency.
Oh, no, because Noel and Sims is going to be the rotation.
Right, but let's say they're like, well, we need a third guy, and we need a third guy that's better than Taj. So we sign someone else for a 1-year, $5 million deal. Are the Knicks so much worse at center?
Probably not.
Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think Sims is pretty decent. Like, I like what I've seen with him already. He'll get better. I think that Mitch is really inconsistent. There's some nights where he's like doing great things, but there are a lot of nights where he's just like very mediocre.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, Jay. Oh, Cam has been injured. Cam is out for the season.
I like
How
that
do you
we
feel
don't
about the
even
Cam?
cover like major Knicks news anymore on the show.
Someone wrote that they were like the Knicks. Yeah, well, it was a no brainer getting Cam because they got him for nothing. Did the Knicks get Cam for nothing?
No, I mean, they gave out a protected first, which might end up being a second.
They gave up the 19th pick in the draft to get this protected first to turn him into Cam. It's not nothing. You could think it's a worthwhile deal, but it's definitely not nothing.
Right.
Anyway, what do you think of Cam? Now you've seen him for some stretch. Obviously, Tibbs could have played him earlier, but
7 games. I have no idea. I feel like we didn't see enough of him.
do you like some of his potential?
He looked all right. There's nothing where I'm like, oh my god, this is a steal, but it seems okay.
I would say, like, I understand. Like, I know a lot of Hawks fans were really upset when they traded Cam to the Knicks. There were flashes where I'm like, I understand why Hawks fans are upset because there's some flash. You're like, this guy looks like because I thought he was going to be more of a 3-and-D guy. He's pretty. I mean, he's very athletic. There's some a little bit. You're like, this guy could turn into something. I just don't know if he will.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else, Jay?
No, we're at the final stretch, and we'll see. The schedule is still tough. There's almost no chance of making the play-in game. They're up by 5 with 14 games left. So
the schedule actually, there's some winnable games coming up. Unfortunately, if you like the tank.
Yeah, but just for context, say Charlotte goes 500, that means the Knicks would have to go 12-4.
Right. Yeah, the chances are they're not catching Charlotte or Atlanta. They're too far back. And on the flip side of it, where they are with the tank, right now they're the 9th seed, tied with New Orleans. New Orleans has actually been playing pretty decent lately. And then the Lakers are 11th. And Washington's 12th. I would think those teams above them or below them, New Orleans, Lakers, and Washington, would win a few more games. Portland is ahead of them in the tank standings. And San Antonio, do you think the Knicks could pass Portland or San Antonio?
It's possible. But I don't know. We'll see. Portland is now playing this guy, Trendon Watford, who was an undrafted guy, and he's had 3 straight 20-point games.
Well, we don't need undrafted guys. We have a lot of talent in our roster, Jay.
No room for that type of stuff.
By the way, you know what's crazy? Indiana sits at 5 and Sacramento sits at 6. They made the biggest trade, or one of the biggest trades at the deadline. Not bigger than the hard trade, but they made a huge trade at the deadline, and both teams still suck.
Yeah. And final question, Mr. C writes, would you rather have Bruce Brown and Dragic or Quickly and Burks?
Bruce Brown looks pretty good. I guess Quickly and Burks, because Dragic's old, and I don't think Quickly's terrible. I don't think Obi's terrible. I think the Knicks fans overrate them, which kind of annoys me. And also IQ just jacking up shots. What do you think, Jay?
It's very, very close. I would say Quickly and Burks. Just Dragic is very close to being out of the league, just because of his age.
If you said Cam Thomas and Bruce Brown, I'd take those two.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was going to say the Knicks have coming up this week. They have 2 games. They have they're going to play Portland, then Washington, then Utah. I mean, Utah is probably a guaranteed loss. Portland and Washington, those are big tank games.
Yeah. Big tank implications.
Very, very big tank. The Knicks have their one less win than Washington and 2 more wins than Portland, or 1 more win than Portland. I hate this part of the season so much.
It is. It's so brutal.
I just want a draft pick that's decent. I just want the Knicks to get a good draft pick so they can draft the power forward, so we can just have the craziest power forward situation ever. I don't know.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Andrew and Mr. C, for joining the chat, and we'll be back soon.
By the way, Jay.
Yep.
I saw someone. I just like the funniest things in Knicks world, like Knicks people discussing things. I saw someone like on Reddit was like, "That guy Chet Holmgren, he's pretty good. You know what? The Knicks should really take him." And the next guy responded, "Yeah, he's going to go number one overall. How the hell are the Knicks going to get him?"
Right.
And the guys respond, "Hey, come on, man. The Knicks could win the lottery." The guy's like, "What the? Why are we talking about?"
This is why I stopped going on Reddit. It's a crazy place.
Someone else on Reddit was like, "Hey, do you think the Knicks could get Jaren Jackson from Memphis?" No, they can't get him.
Do you think we could get their second best player for our trash?
There's an article put out by whatever, I forgot the Newsday guy about Donovan Mitchell. How the Knicks said they it's not so secret plan. They're going after Donovan Mitchell. There's a not so secret plan. Jay's been going after who's the model you love?
Olivia
Who's the
Munn.
actress? Yeah, not so secret plan. Jay's going after Olivia Munn. Jay has a better shot than the Knicks have getting Donovan Mitchell.
And we know how Olivia Munn worked out. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go.
This is the end.
Say goodbye.